Hello, everyone. Welcome to Heart of the Homily podcast, coming to you from St. Augustine Church and Student Center in Coral Gables. My name is Michelle Lopez. I'm one of your hosts today. And Father, why don't you introduce yourself and our lovely guest? We have a guest today, so we're excited.
This is brand new today. It's very exciting. Of course, I'm Father Vigoa from St. Augustine's, and today we have the pleasure of having Pam Giganti, who was an NBC6 anchor, morning anchor. I don't know how you did it for as many years as you did it. It's crazy. But also a parishioner. She's a parishioner sometimes. You're
part-time parishioner.
Part-time. You're mostly at Epiphany. And, But she's a Legatus member. I'm a chaplain for Legatus, and we've worked many years together. Even before I was at St. Augustine, I've known Pam. She's done a lot of great work with the Archdiocese of Miami. But I thought it would be fun to bring you a professional. This is what she does for a living. So
she's going to give us some notes and feedback.
Hey, Pam, can you give us some tips here?
You guys are doing great. I've been following. Congratulations on this podcast. It's been, I think, wildly successful. I've heard from so many people who watch, and
thank you.
They've gotten so much from it. So you guys are doing great. Don't worry.
Well, if you say so, you know, it means a lot. But thank you for being here today. We want to dig in and just talk about the homily. That's what we do on Mondays. We kind of break open what we heard on Sunday, and so. Here we are. But thank you for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And our hope is going from the pews on Sunday to the whole of your week. So we're going to be opening up the feast of the dedication of the Lateran Basilica in Rome. Did I say that right, Father? That's like the longest feast day
St. John
name.
Lateran. Yeah, you got it from the Lateran family.
Wonderful. So that was the feast day that we celebrated yesterday. And so we're actually going to be talking, that was the homily, was kind of opening up what that feast day means for us personally and for the church. So we're not going to read the homily today, but I'm going to give you a little kind of preview into what the homily was about, and we'll kind of open up conversation from there.
Sure.
So again, this is taking from Father's homily. It says that the roof may fall, the walls may crumble, but the Church of Christ will always stand strong, because the church isn't marble or mortar. It's you, it's me, it's all of us. So that is kind of our conversation today, is looking at this great feast day is about a building, but it's not really about a building. So would love to kind of, I think that's the twist that you gave to it, Father, that was really beautiful, because I think the name of the feast day is a little, you're kind of like, oh, okay, that's nice, a church.
Right.
And then what does that mean? It's not about a building.
And I think the church does that because it's to stress that it's not about a building. As beautiful as St. John Lateran is, I mentioned in the homily, it's one of the four major papal basilicas, and it has a holy door. Lots of people going to St. John Lateran. It's an impressive building, but the church is not about stone and mortar. It's more. It's and going back to the story that I gave about Cuba. But we can get to that in a little bit. But St. John Lateran is an important church. It's the cathedral of the Pope. A lot of people think that St. Peter's Basilica is the cathedral of the Pope, but it's not. It's St. John Lateran. And when you go to Rome and you see it, these huge letters there on the facade of the church, it says "Mother and Head of all churches in the city and the world." Of course, it's in Latin, but impressive. It's a beautiful building. But I think that this feast day really reminds us that Jesus Christ is a foundation. We are the body of Christ. We are the church. And how do we understand that? If we can understand it, then the community grows in that understanding.
Yeah, I thought I listened to the homily as well. It was really good. I was taking a bunch of notes, and also because I was going to be here today, I wanted to remember a few things. But I thought as well, like Michelle was saying, it's sort of an abstract feast day. You're like, why are we celebrating this? So I think you really put it into perspective. And you mentioned, wasn't it Constantine's baptismal font?
Yeah.
Still there?
It's still there. You can go and see it.
That is so impressive.
Right.
And that there's just been this building layer upon layer of the church. And so that's just metaphoric for how we are as Christians, because it's this lifelong spiritual journey, and you're continuing to build on what you know and what you believe and how you act. Like we're always growing and
always growing and always rebuilding. This church is super important because it's the first church that's built after Christianity is legalized. So it's 324, right after Constantine is baptized, and they build this huge church. And but it's going back to what are we celebrating? What is it truly? Are we celebrating a building? No, we're not celebrating a building. We're celebrating our Christian faith. Yeah. And but so yeah, I went to Cuba on Sunday, just for Sunday, you know, for a couple hours, and it was devastating in the sense that what I saw was crazy because, you know, we have hurricanes here in Florida. We'll have it in the United States, and the government's very good and people are very good, and NGOs and communities come together. They start picking up the debris and they come together. People bring water, and you see the best of humanity after some sort of devastating, something like a hurricane or an earthquake. But Cuba doesn't have any resources. So they didn't have power before the earthquake or the hurricane, and they don't have water, and so it's on top of just misfortune. So we went on behalf of the Archdiocese of Miami and Catholic Charities, the Order of Malta. We took down something like 43,000 pounds of food.
It's incredible.
But the big deal was to get down there to talk to some of these government officials and church officials to make sure that all that food that was coming down off the plane, it was getting into the trucks that was sitting there waiting from Caritas, from the Archdiocese of Santiago, and we saw that. We saw how they were able to put that in the trucks, and that was the reason why we went. And then we made our way to the sanctuary of Our Lady of Charity, and we prayed there before the Nuestra Señora de la Caridad, and that was very powerful, impactful. In fact, the eye of the hurricane was very close to the shrine. So that whole area is just devastated. And the priest, I didn't mention this in the homily, but we visited, and I felt so bad because we got there and the priest wants to say hello and wants to show us around, and Mass is starting, and it's starting late. You know how I am. I like to start on Mass on time and end on time, and I'm saying, but Father, you got to celebrate Mass. Don't worry about us going. No, you're here. We want to celebrate, you know. And the church was packed. I'm talking packed. Wow. And he says, you see all these people? A lot of these people lost their homes, and they're here. Wow. They're celebrating the faith. And that was the what I wanted to, that's how, when I came home, I rested for a little bit, then I went to my office and I sat down and wrote the homily for Sunday. But it brought me back to that instance where that lady, you know, we pull up to this church that had been decimated. It was just basically just the floor of the church was there, and she's sitting there sweeping, and the bishop comes out and she says, "Oh, my dear, you know, you lost, the church is gone." And she reprimanded, "No, Monseñor, la iglesia somos nosotros. We are the church. Don't forget that." Yeah. You know, and that's...
Imagine telling that to the Archbishop, right?
Right. Well, I wasn't the Archbishop of Miami. It was the Archbishop of there in Cuba. But I never forgot that. It's so powerful. Yeah. Yeah, but the one thing that I wanted to communicate is, how do you see yourself in relationship to your community and also your domestic church at home? Like, how do you see your church as a stones and the mortar, and that we're living stones? I was talking to someone today, and she was lamenting of a big family problem that they had, but one of the things that she was saying is that the values that I instilled in my children are still there, and I see that that domestic church, those values, that's still there.
Yeah,
right.
That's so powerful. And Father, even your story. I mean, like, what a way to celebrate this feast day, by like being universal church to another country, and like being able to, be with the people there, and then come home to your own people. Yeah. Like, it really, that universality of the church is so unique and beautiful. But also kind of this invitation to, like, do we know that we're the church? And I think even myself growing up, like, church was building. You know, like, that was it. Like, are we going to church? And but that, and also like church, or like, you know, the religious or the priest. Yeah. But what you're kind of opening up in your homily is calling to mind that, like, that's not the whole truth. The whole truth is, like, we are the church. Before ever there were walls, right? In the early church, it was the people, and really helping us know that that's a responsibility to take up and also collaborate with. And
how do we see that? Like, I think that's the question. The comment that you just made is, do we understand that we are the church, this collective body of Christ? And what I mentioned was when one part of the body suffers, we all suffer. And do you feel that? Do you feel that hurt? And I think St. Augustine does a pretty good job about that. We're very quick to what do you need? How can we do this? How can we solve it? Where's the the assistance that's needed? And so we're good at that. It's faith in action. And you're right. There was such a stark contrast from being in Cuba with this, church and the celebration, and also being at our church and the celebration that we had there. Two different styles, but the same exact church.
Yeah. It's incredible. Pam, I was kind of thinking about what has your experience been of church, church being you're being a part of that. Do you have any of your own experiences you'd like to share of coming to a greater understanding of being a part of the living church?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I mean, I'm a cradle Catholic, so it was always part of my life.
Right.
When you're little, you don't even know the difference. You've learned how to do the sign of the cross and say your prayers, which is such a gift. I'm so grateful that my family gave that to me. So it was always a part of my life, and it was always the foundation for me. Even when I went away to college, maybe I was one of those rare students that didn't really drift away. To me, it felt, because I was away from home, it gave me a sense of belonging, and it made me feel like home going to Mass, because it was, no matter where you go, the Mass is still the same, and that's such the beauty of the Catholic faith. But I think one of the things that one of the pivotal moments in my career, I guess, or my life as a Catholic, was when I did my Emmaus retreat. That was just so beautiful to go on that retreat and to meet all of these other women who were the living embodiment of Christ, because they were sharing their stories, a lot of them really profound, heartfelt stories, some with tragedy involved and trauma and despair, but yet they were doing so well, if you will, because of their faith. And they gave people so much hope. And I remember being on my retreat, and this was in 2000, so it was a long time ago, and feeling for the first time and understanding for the first time how much Jesus loved me. I don't know why I didn't get that before or understand that before, but it was at that moment and going on that retreat, which is such a gift to yourself, because you just close the outside world out, and you get to be in the space on that retreat with people who are just carrying you. And
that's powerful.
Yeah. So for me, that was very, very pivotal.
And what would you say, because you, out of the three of us, you're the only one with adult children.
Yeah,
but they're in college, and so that domestic church. You and Alfred did a really good job in having that domestic church in your house. But how do you think that impacts them in their understanding that you are church, and that you need to now go to a community to continue to be church?
Yeah.
Because your kids are different, right?
Yeah, they're all different. Two have graduated from college already. One is a senior in college, so they're moving along with their lives.
Yeah,
they're from 28 to 21. So I think you as parents instill these values in your children, and you show them that this is what we do as a family. This is our faith. We practice our faith. We go to Mass on Sunday. We participate in myriad ways that the
this is who we are as a family.
This is who we are, and there's a lot of talk, as you know, like when people go out of town, some people feel like, oh, when I'm out of town, or I'm traveling to go to a tournament, I can't get to church, or I don't need to go to church. But we were always like, we're going to find a way to go to Mass, because this is who we are, because that's what we felt was important for us and for our kids.
Any pushback from any of the kids at any ages? I don't want to go to church. I don't feel like going to church.
It was more like, hurry up.
I think that's pretty normal.
Yeah. I have 3 daughters. It was like you could hear somebody yelling, that's my ponytail holder. That's my hairbrush. It was like, hurry up, just get in the car.
But don't you wish you were still there?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I miss those moments.
Yeah,
I miss those moments. But yeah, I think too, we were very fortunate to raise the kids here in Miami with extended family, with that sense of your faith is important. This is what we do collectively, all of us. I sent them to Catholic school, and then they learned a lot about service through that. It's just it's just ingrained.
Right.
So as women, they are very passionate about service and serving others and living a good life.
And that's the whole thing. And my hope was that it is ingrained. And if it's not ingrained, let's get it ingrained in some of the, even adults. Because what I was trying to say in the homily too is that there's going to be cracks. Just like there's cracks in the church, there's going to be cracks in your own life, and there's going to be wood beams in your heart, or whatever it is, that there's this need for constant renewal, refurbishing, renewing, restoring. And I think that speaks, if we're able to really say, this is where the area in my life that needs help, right? Then I can be that community. I can be that church, even within my home, with my husband, my wife, my children, but then in the greater scheme of a community that's growing in faith and challenging each other and being accountable to each other, right? Because the community like ours, it can't just be stagnant. It has to really have members of the faith that are challenging and that are growing with each other and serving. I think we've done a good job to challenge people and offer opportunities to serve, because that is another component of it. Faith has to be faith in action, and we saw that this weekend with this trip. But it's all part of, I am church. I am the church. And it's far beyond just our little beautiful little cozy church that we have of, bricks and walls and floors.
Right. And it's not just being in that building, your church all the time.
Right.
Right? You come there to get renewed and to go to mass and to gather, but doesn't stop and start when you walk in and out of the door.
You know how
right?
I see that? Sometimes I see that, like when we do Hermanos de la Calle, like we're out in downtown Miami, and I'm just looking at some of our kids or adults that are kind of shy, but then I see them kind of stepping out of their own and talking to someone by themselves or bringing a sandwich to someone. I'm like, wow, our church is beautiful. Our church is growing, and this right here, just this little group right here, this is the church. This is Catholic. Where are you guys from? We're from St. Augustine's Catholic Church, but this is who we are, right?
Yeah, that the church isn't confined to the building, but it's the people, and I think
way more.
Yeah, and even the example that you gave of the lady with the broom. I mean, she just knew that in her bones.
She did know that in her bones.
The church, the building itself will come and go, but it's the people. And I think for us, I don't know, some people I think have the tendency to be very individualistic and think like, okay, well, that's the church over there. And I don't know, I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago of if everyone could play their part, like what a difference we would make in our local community. Like if people were willing to take that broom to their own soul, like you were talking about in your homily, to really to clean house and to allow the Lord to do like that restoration within, so that we can together come and build like a beautiful thing for God, but through our community.
I like, if I could add, and I wrote it down in your homily.
Good, I love
notes.
that.
I knew I was going to be on the show.
I love when people do that.
Let me take some notes, which is, and you know what, and in Mass, I guess if you see people on their phone, sometimes maybe they're taking notes.
They are.
Yeah, they're taking notes. What you said, and you mentioned it again, and you said, what will we add? Do we add beauty, or do we add to the cracks and the leaks?
Yeah.
And I think it's like important for us to feel, and Michelle and I were talking about this, is no matter what space you're in, to bring beauty and light. Do you bring light, or do you bring negativity? And then I think too, as Christians, like also give yourself some grace, because we're not always our best. We're human, right? And so if you feel like maybe you weren't the best in a situation, you can always go back and apologize, or you just do better next time. But give yourself grace. Don't think it has to be all or nothing. Like, oh, I'm failing as a Christian. I'm not. No, give yourself grace. You've decided to be a Christian. You've decided to maybe follow your Catholic faith. And so good for you. And we're here as community to help support you when you feel weak, or you can, or we need to pray for you. That's one of the beauties. Getting back to the Emmaus retreat, I'm still on a text message with my sisters, and we will pray for each other all the time. And it's very powerful.
Yeah, it's the whole walking together.
Yeah.
And learning from each other. And, you made a comment there about the church has leaks, or are we repairing are we looking at our ugliness, our sinfulness, or even our weaknesses? I think that a good self-awareness goes a long way. Because we're going to fail. We're going to have our bad days, and we're going to be short. We're going to be impatient, and we're going to be just ugly. And that's where, okay, you said it. Pick yourself up. You can turn this around, go to confession or whatever it is you need to do, but nip it in the bud and say, no, this is not who I am. I'm a Christian. I love the Lord, and I want to serve Him well, and I want to make Him proud. And so, yeah, that's.
Yeah, and you were mentioning in your homily, and I think this is just relevant in our conversation, is there's sometimes we can be like, oh, well, let the bishops do that. Or like, a posture of like complaining or being, nitpicking like what's going on in the church that you don't like, or like if this was better. And I know I've talked to a lot of people who have the first comment, and I've said this myself in the beginning of my walk of like, well, I'm not going to go to church because like they're all hypocrites anyways,
Right.
like they're all, whatever. But being able to, again, like take our accountability of our own self and sweep our own corner of the church. And like, if like, that's it. That's all you have to be responsible for. It's not everyone else, but it's like you're part of the church that you need to clean house and be a living stone that actually brings beauty and fruit.
And there's the other flip of that coin too, is where, they're too holy there at that church. I don't belong there. I've made some really major mistakes. I've not been the best Christian, so I'm not going to go. Well, that's a cop out too, right? And so you're right. I think that there has to be this understanding of, okay, well, is it about Jesus Christ? And do I understand that He's the foundation to all of this? And what does that mean? Or sometimes we love excuses just to be able to do whatever it is that we want to do.
Yeah. But for the person who's really, maybe people watching this and they are really hard on themselves, what do you say to them?
Well, that happens a lot. And there's all different levels to that, because there's scrupulosity, there's sometimes it's excessive, and that's where I think that you need to sit with a spiritual director. You need to sit with someone that you trust, a mentor or a priest that can look or listen to you and say, look, you're being too hard. I think the sacrament of reconciliation can help you, or let's look at it this way. But in those instances, I think that an outside voice needs to come in there and help you kind of get out of that funk. Because when you are too hard on yourself, you're not allowing grace. And ultimately what that is that you're the one that wants to be in control, right? It's prideful. It's, I know better. I know, and no, don't worry about it. I know what I need to do. And so it's all about control. And so that's when someone else can come around and say, let me pinpoint, or let me tell you what I see. And that can sometimes pull the person out of it. Right?
Yeah, that's great. Spiritual insight. And I think, thank God we need community. It goes back to the fact of like, we need a church to belong to, a community to be a part of, helping us grow, especially in areas that we are blind to, or we need that extra help to be pulled out of, seeing things in a certain way. Father, one of the things from your homily that I wanted to mention, when you talked about the actual basilica in Rome, I love how you mentioned like that it's been there through history. So like earthquakes, fires, like
Right.
It's seen like every storm possible.
Right.
But yet it's still beautiful, and it's even more beautiful because it has had deconstruction, reconstruction, like in and out. Can you share a little bit, like relate that to like the beauty of just our own journey, and like that's us?
Yeah, and we've kind of been talking about that, about community, and do we understand that we are the church and not just the building itself? And what I meant by that is that through the centuries, people have built upon other basilicas. Like even from the ancient basilica, there's been add-ons and repairs and like you said, earthquakes, fires, everything that you can imagine, but they have contributed to this beautiful masterpiece that sits there that people are visiting at this moment right now, going through a holy door. And so the reason why I mentioned that is that we need to understand as living stones that contribute, right, to a church that is growing, that is thriving, that is alive. Again, I'm not talking about the physical building. I'm talking about as living stones. How do you contribute to a church that is alive and thriving? Because I love that St. Augustine's, that so many people are saying that I feel alive. I feel that I come to serve, that I have something to give, or that you guys offer this, whatever. And I'm not talking about, St. Augustine's is the best parish in the church. That's the only church that I know that I can give a little bit of context, and I can a little bit share my experience with what people are telling me, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a beautiful thing when you can see someone come out of this. I was just a Sunday churchgoer that really didn't do anything. It was just Sunday 1 hour and that's it. And now you see people that are really involved in their ministries, people that are going out of their way to do all these other service projects. Why? Because they see themselves as this beautiful member of a community that is a church. And again, I'm not talking about a building. And so my question to you that are listening is, how are you part of a living stone? And you said it earlier, it's like, well, I don't want to be someone also too that tears down the building or contributes to a bigger crack or to a leak. I want to be someone that's constantly repairing and coming over and, let me heal that up. And because if you're that type of living stone, then you're adding to the beauty.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think what you're sharing too is the different ways, at least in our kind of local experience of it here, is I feel like we've done an intentional job to tell people like that we care,
Right.
that like we want you to be here, like you're welcomed, you're loved, and like you have a part to play in like what God is doing in our local community and place.
Yeah.
And I feel like people desire that and long for it, but they don't ever hear it very well, and their experience of church is very distant. Like they go or it's more like consumer attitude sometimes of like, okay, I'm gonna go and get what I need and go home, instead of like, no, come because you belong here and you have a gift to give that no one else can give, and like we need you, we want you.
Yeah.
And that needs to be reminded. That needs to be given to the people in the sense that in this very competitive world and on our busyness and our distractions, that's the mentality is, okay, consumerism. Okay, I'm just going to consume this, and it's one thing among many things, and we got to break from that. This is your church experience. Your life in the church is completely different than anything else that you do in the day or in your office. It can't be just one thing among the many things that you do. Being church is completely different. How is Sunday sacred? Is Sunday sacred to you? And then does that spill over into other things that you're going to do, or in how you plan your week ahead in the different ministries or apostolates that you're involved with?
Yeah.
You're involved in a lot of different apostolates in the church.
Yeah.
So it's not just Sunday Mass, right?
No.
And but was that something that was part of you prior to Emmaus, or that kind of Emmaus kick-started that desire to be more involved?
It. Yeah. I mean, my kids went to Catholic school, so I was involved in the school, room mom, doing all the school things, right? But it was after Emmaus that I ended up doing so much more.
Now, did your husband go through Emmaus? Because he
Yeah.
has the same spirit that you do.
Yeah, he did too.
Okay.
I went first, he went second.
Yeah.
A lot of spouses do that. One will go first and they're so
Right.
moved by it, then
Yeah.
they encourage the other spouse to go so that you can kind of be on the same playing, level playing field. Yeah.
You're gonna be happy about this because something I haven't mentioned this Sunday when I was in Cuba, the priest there said, had it not been for Emmaus, we would be in a different type of recovery mode, because they said that because they've been doing so many Emmaus retreats, that these Emmaus teams are now the ones organizing everything.
Teams on the island?
On the island.
Wow.
And these are Emmaus retreats that were started from parishioners here in Miami from different parishes that went down to Cuba. And the bishops themselves are saying what an impact that is doing in the church. Because remember, it's a communist country still, a very deeply communist country. They don't want the church. They don't want people going to Mass. And so they have to figure out how to gain space within the Catholic world in this very hostile environment. And so Emmaus has been very successful. Why? Because you have this retreat experience, and the pastors are able to say to these people, okay, within all of this, now how do we go out and be church in a hostile world think outside the box with no resources, but you're being called to mission even within mission territory.
Yeah. What a great
Right.
point.
You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And so this priest on this weekend was making it the point to say, wow, these teams are now the ones who are organizing themselves and helping neighbors.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was powerful.
And I think
Why? Because remember, communism, they're taught from very early on it's the individual. You were talking about that earlier. The individual. It's worry about you and everybody else. Forget about everybody else. It's you. But I think that the human condition is no. We're the best when we're
Together.
called to,
Together.
We're
right?
united.
Yeah.
We're called to help someone else.
it's true.
You were going to say something, Pam?
No, I just quickly wanted to say when you were talking about, and Michelle too, inviting people, and it's not just Sunday Mass, it's more than that.
Right.
And I think once you go and you allow yourself to get involved, even if you just go to one thing or dip your toe, you're going to be so surprised at that almost magical feeling that you have. You feel so full and filled. Clearly, that's the Holy Spirit working within you to get you excited about continuing to come back. And you meet other people and you create community and friendship, and it just continues to reinforce.
Well, there are some parishioners that I've been trying to get them out to do some sort of mission work or to be involved in a ministry and apostle. How do I get those people to just trust and go do a ministry or something?
Free food? No. Yeah,
Maybe.
Have an incentive. Yeah.
Like a little bit of an incentive to.
Yeah.
But I think maybe something that you just said is just try it.
Try
and you're
it.
going to see that it's something fulfilling and wonderful. And because I think that saying you guys are tired of me saying it can't be just a Sunday thing where I put gas in the car and then that's it. Wait till the next Sunday again. We've been trying to create an environment where there's something going on all the time and you
Yeah.
can fit in.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe, Pam, as we're wrapping up, I would love to hear from you, kind of this theme of being a living stone and rebuilding. What are some things maybe after the Emmaus that have really impacted you for that reconstruction yourself? What are things that help to grow in your arm of service, to grow in just different areas of your faith?
Well, one of the things that impacted me immediately afterwards, and I think this happens to a lot of retreatants, is you are so hungry that you want to go to daily Mass. You can't get enough. You want to just keep meeting with your sisters who you connected with, and you want to continue to grow spiritually. So just for me personally, and then after a retreat, you have that retreat experience where you're on such a high, and then like everything, it kind of goes back down and life becomes complicated again. But that for me was really the kickstart of making sure and leaning into wanting to go to daily Mass, going to adoration, getting more involved in different philanthropy. I'm on the board of Catholic Leadership Institute. I was on the board of Legatus, and I
Right.
helped to bring in all of the speakers. And
But I'm gonna help you with because I know your life, and so I know
He knows my life.
something
Oh
that
my
has
God.
been something that's been so impactful in Pam's life is they have had this small group
Oh, yes.
of Bible study.
yes,
forever.
thank you for reminding us that. Yeah.
And they are so strong in the faith from a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, they were doing Bible study when people were not doing Bible study.
So it's a reflection group. And we started it after I was going through the baptism training for my middle child. So she's 25. So it gives you an idea of how long we've been doing it. And a couple talked to us about reflection group and getting like-minded people who are of the same age, kids the same age together and grow together in your faith. So we were like, oh, we should do that. And we started that with 3 other couples. So we're 4 couples. And we literally have been meeting all those years once a month, having dinner together, and sharing. And one couple comes with the topic, and then we debate and talk. And sometimes those meetings have gotten heated. Sometimes we've cried, but it's been powerful because we've been walking on this journey of life together through different stages.
And that's what I want to
Yeah.
communicate to people. Find something that's going to anchor you, that's really going to anchor your faith and that sustains you through hard times and difficult times and beautiful times.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I knew that that's been something in
Been
your
huge for
life
us.
that's been
Yeah.
huge for both
Yeah.
of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, and that's church at home. And I think
That
that's
is
like,
it.
that's like
That's-
the beautiful part
And our
is
kids have seen
know.
that, Michelle. The kids,
Right.
all the kids of the couples have seen that.
yeah.
And actually, one of the one of the girls of the couple has started her own reflection group. So
See,
it
there
is
it
being
is.
passed
There
on.
it is.
She
That's
wanted to do that.
beautiful.
She's married now, and she wanted to do that. So
I love
we're
that.
like, wow. We actually made a PDF. We're like, we need to give them like
Wow.
a little maybe
Yeah.
playbook about how to do it.
Well, your
Yeah.
group has been successful, so
yeah.
yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, we are out of time.
Well, I
and
just
this
want to
has
say
been
that
fantastic,
I'm going
but
to just
close
give
us
some
up.
closing words. I'm going to
Please,
say,
please.
the Basilica of St. John Lateran has been rebuilt many times. You mentioned that. But the church has also been rebuilt many times. And so must we. We have to be continually fighting to rebuild and to repurpose ourselves. Why? Because the roof may collapse, the walls may fall, but as long as we are believers who keep sweeping that foundation, keep sweeping, keep that broom in your hand, the church always rises and Jesus Christ always triumphs. So,
Amen.
Amen.
Pam, thanks for joining
Thanks
us
for
this
joining
week.
us.
It was fun.
Me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I
I'm glad you
enjoyed
were
it.
here.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So share the video, share it with someone that might be inspired today, and we'll see you next week.
Help us grow the channel. Thanks, Miami Community News. Take care.